Hello, first grade. It's Frog and Toad time. Hey, 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 hey. Woo! All right, so I hope you're super excited to join me today for Frog and Toad are friends. And I'm slightly sad because it's the last chapter. Now, I am pretty pumped because we get to start the next book together. But I just love their books so much. So I'm sad to see this one end, but I'm excited to start the next one together. So let's review a little bit about what we've been reading. We have read the first 4 chapters. I believe it's the 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, 4 chapters together. And we've learned a lot. We've learned a lot about being good friends so far and about being trustworthy and all sorts of stuff. So let's recap and review those chapters that we've been reading, and then we'll jump into our last chapter together. Okay? So, let's start with chapter 1. Chapter 1 was called Spring. So it started the book off by Frog going to Toad's house, and he was trying to get him to wake up because it was springtime. It was time to get up. And he said not to wake him up until May. And so Frog went over there and he flipped the calendar, and it was time for him to wake up. So then he woke up Toad again. He was like, no, now wake up. It's May. So he woke up, he got dressed, and he went out to explore the beautiful nature in the spring. Chapter 2 was the story. Remember when Frog and Toad got together at Toad's house? Frog didn't look well, Toad said, so he needed to lay down, and Toad made him some tea to take care of them. And so then he was like, I'm going to tell you a story. Could he think of a story? He could not think of a story. He was the one that was like turning upside down, banging his head against the wall, pacing back and forth, and he couldn't think of a story. So after all that nonsense that Toad did, his head started hurting. So Frog's like, why don't you lay down for a little bit and let me take care of you and tell you a story? And so he told a story about themselves, Frog and Toad, being best friends. Right? The third chapter, The Lost Button. Remember in The Lost Button, Frog and Toad were adventuring out. They were walking through the meadow and through the woods and through the river. And they were just hanging out, being best friends that they are. And when that Toad got home to his house, he took off his jacket and he was missing a button off of his special jacket. So Frog, being the good friend that he did, he said, well, let's go back. Let's retrace our steps. And we're going to find it. So they went through, and all these animals came up to them. They were finding all these buttons, but it just wasn't the right button. They could not find it anywhere. So, was Toad happy about it? Well, how was he? How did he act? He was angry, right? So he got home and he slammed the door and he was mad. And he looked down, and sure enough, there was his button that had fallen off in his house. So he felt bad for making Frog do all that. For going back and doing all the walking because they were tired, but finally they found the button, right? Because he had to learn some patience. And then the fourth one that we read yesterday together was The Swim, and we learned in this chapter Frog and Toad went swimming in the river together, and they just had a lot of fun together as always. But remember, Toad wore his swimsuit. And he didn't want people to make fun of him. Frog, he didn't wear a swimsuit. He just jumped right on in. He didn't care. But Toad, he didn't want people to look at him because he knew he looked silly and funny in a swimsuit. So all those friends were laughing at him, even though Frog tried telling them to leave to go on. But they didn't. And whenever Toad was like, well, to fix this problem, here's what we're going to have to do. I'm just going to get up and I'm going to go on home. So he got out of the river and he went home. And Frog, did he start laughing too? Even though he looked silly, he was laughing too. Is that the way friends should treat each other? No. You should talk to your friend, and then afterwards, when they're in a good mood and cheering them up and encouraging them and lifting them up like good friends do, then when they're laughing about the situation, it's okay to laugh too, right? All right, so today we're going to talk about the letter, and we're going to see the last chapter we read, The Swim, it kind of just stopped at Toad was walking home with his clothes in his hand, and he was done. And then it stopped. So we were like, well, what happened after that, right? So we're going to see what happened in this next and last chapter together. And it's called The Letter. If you turn to your table of contents, you will see at the beginning that it says that we are on page 53. So if you will turn to page 53 with me, and we're going to read it together. Make sure you are following along with me and reading also each and every night after we've read them too. Okay? So let's read the letter. Toad was sitting on his front porch. Frog came along and said, "What's the matter, Toad? You are looking sad." "Yes," said Toad. "This is my sad time of day. It is the time when I wait for the mail to come. It always makes me very unhappy." "Why is that?" said Frog. "Because I never get any mail," said Toad. "Not ever?" asked Frog. "No, never," said Toad. "No one has ever sent me a letter. Every day my mailbox is empty. That is why waiting on the mail is a sad time of day for me." Frog and Toad sat on the porch, feeling sad together. Then Frog said, "I have to go home now, Toad. There's something I must do." So Frog hurried home. What do you think he's going to do? He found a pencil and a piece of paper, and he wrote on the paper. He put the paper in an envelope. You need that, right? On the envelope, he wrote, "A letter for Toad," big and bold. Frog ran out of the house and he saw the snail that he knew. "Snail," said Frog, "please take this letter to Toad's house and put it in his mailbox." "Sure," said Snail. "Right away." What did he do? He wrote a letter for him. What a nice friend. Then Frog ran back to Toad's house, but Toad was in the bed and taking a nap. Toad said, "I think you should get up and wait for the mail some more." "No," said Toad. "I'm tired of waiting for the mail." Frog looked out of the window at Toad's mailbox. The snail was not there yet. "Toad," said Frog, "you never know when someone may send you a letter." "No, no," said Toad. "I don't think anyone will ever send me a letter." So Frog looked out of the window. The snail was not there yet. "But Toad," said Frog, "someone may send you a letter today." "Don't be silly," said Toad. "No one has ever sent me a letter before, and no one will send me a letter today." Frog looked out of the window. The snail was still not there. "Frog, why do you keep looking out of the window?" asked Toad. "Because now I'm waiting for the mail," said Frog. "But there will not be any," said Toad. "Oh, yes, there will," said Frog, "because I have sent you a letter." "You have?" said Toad. "What did you write in the letter?" Frog said, "I wrote, 'Dear Toad, I am glad that you are my best friend.'" "Your best friend, Frog." "Oh," said Toad, "that makes a very good letter." Then Frog and Toad went out to the front porch to wait for the mail. They sat there, feeling happy together. Frog and Toad waited a long time. 4 days later, the snail got to Toad's house and gave him the letter from Frog. Toad was very pleased to have it. The end. We've read the whole book. We read everything. Nice job, everybody. You guys did so well on that. I'm so proud of you for staying with it and reading through these series. I know that they're fun and they're exciting. So that was a perfect way to end that story. But to end our story together here today, we are going to, I'm going to put Frog and Toad over here so they can watch. We're going to do some fun stuff together. So let's go ahead and come down to our story map. In your packets, go ahead and open that up for me. And we are going to be working on the letter story map. All right. So this is the last chapter. And we have to fill out the rows. So I've got the characters. Who are the characters in this one? Go ahead and write them. Frog, Toad, and who? All right, Snail. He was giving out the mail. Setting. Where was this setting in the story or in this chapter? Where did it take place? Toad's house. Right, that was the main. And where else? Also Frog, because Frog went home to write the letter. All right, let's go to the problem. What was the problem in this chapter? Right, Toad never got any mail. So he was sad, right? Those were the sad parts of his day, he said. All right, the solution. How did they fix that problem? How did they solve it? Frog, what did Frog do? He wrote Toad a nice letter. That's how they fixed the problem. All right? Now, if you need to pause and continue to fill out your story map, please do so. If you've missed today and you've not been able to do that, please make sure that you back up, find those videos, and fill out your story map, okay? Now that we're done, you do not need to send these each day. You can just send that whole paper to me, and I can look over it, okay? Now, let's flip through our packet, and let's go over to the first part that you see. It looks like this, and it's called The Letter, which is the chapter we just read. This is just for fun. This is a page that that you can send, that you can use, and then you can send or write a letter to someone that is special to you. Maybe your mom, dad, brother, sister, or neighbor, or maybe a student in our class. If you want to write them a letter, you can use this paper, fold it up, and what do you have to put something in to send it in the mail? Right, you need an envelope of some sort, because you have to have an envelope. And then what else do you have to put on the envelope? Right, a stamp. You always have to have a stamp for it to go through the mail, to be received. And you don't even have to leave your house. You can just put it in your mailbox and put the flag up, and then the mail lady or man will come get it and deliver it for you, okay? So this is totally optional. You do not have to send it to anybody. You can just write it for someone special that's at your house. But if you'd like to send it to someone, how do we start letters? When we write a letter, think about in our story, how did Frog start his letter? Do we say, hey, this is so-and-so? No, we say, dear whoever. So if I was sending Miss Zingelman a letter, I would start my letter off that said, Dear Miss Zingelman, comma. Then I would start. What are some things I might put in a letter? Yeah, I could put how I'm doing, how I'm feeling today, some things that I've been doing while I'm at home. Give them some information that what you've been doing so they're excited to read it. And then you can even ask them questions at the end like, I'd love to hear back from you. What have you been doing at home? I miss you. I care about you. And I can't wait to see you soon or next year. All right. So this is optional and you are welcome to do that and send it to whoever you want. The next page, I have another comparing bubble map. All right. So it says, after finishing the book, which is what we have just done, write some words to describe each character in the bubble map. Check the first bubble map to see if the characters have changed throughout the story. So just thinking about it, do you think the characters have changed throughout the story? Yeah, they have. So let's come down together and let's fill out this bubble map. And we can put some of the same words we had at the beginning when we did this together. And then we might put some different ones. So at the beginning we said from the very first chapter, Frog was energetic, happy, and friendly. And you were supposed to add another one. And Toad was grouchy, tired, and unhappy. So what are some words that we could use to describe Frog and Toad now that we've read the entire story? And some of them may have changed. Some of them may have stayed the same. So what do we think? Frog is what? You can write whatever you would like as long as they do describe him. But I'm going to put Frog as happy. And each chapter that we have read, Frog is usually always happy, is he not? He's always happy. He's always got a solution to something, right? Let's do another one. Frog, I believe, Frog is always positive. And what I mean by that is he's always got a good attitude. Even if things go wrong, he's like, hey, let's fix it by doing this. He's always encouraging and lifting him up. So he's always positive. He has a positive attitude. All right. Another one that I can think of is Frog. Well, they're both really funny. I'm going to write funny right here in the middle because they're both funny. And you can write it in your bubbles, but I'm just going to write it in the middle. Create my own bubble. Frog, I think he is more serious. Now, he's still funny, but he's more of the serious one, whereas Toad is more Yeah, he's more silly and takes things literal, right? All right. And Frog, the last one I can think of, and you can change yours. You do not have to have mine. I think of the word thoughtful. He's always thoughtful. He's thinking about what he could do to make someone's day or to make it better and take care of them. He's thinking about his friends all the time. Even in this last chapter, he was very thoughtful. He felt bad that Toad was sad, so he went back and he wrote a letter. All right, let's do some for Toad. Toad, we know he's silly. We can still write silly. What else might you put? Yeah, he's not as, we put positive over here, but is Toad always positive? No, he's more negative. Now, thankfully, he has a great friend like Toad who always picks him up and encourages him to do good things and to feel better. But he's always like, it's just a sad day. I don't want to do anything. Or he's in his bed, right? But Frog, he is always encouraging him to get out of bed and to go do things and to not feel sad. So I'm going to put negative there. Let's see. I'm going to use the word, so we know Frog is more serious than Toad because he's silly, but I'm going to use the word persistent. And so I'm going to explain that to you right now, actually. Persistent means like he is firm about what he wants. So in all the chapters, haven't you noticed that even in the beginning where he was not getting out of bed, he was determined he wasn't going to get out of bed, he's very persistent about what he wants and what he thinks. And then the next one I'm going to put is, I might put the word lazy. Because he's still lazy, sort of. He doesn't like to do things, right? Yeah. And thankfully he has Frog there to get him out and to do things with him. So, we filled out our bubble map together. And let me explain the next one. So, we're going to finish up this packet today. The next sheet you have here looks like this. And it says, did Frog change during the story? Yes or no? Not really. He was kind of the same. Same character, same attitude. Did Toad change during the story? Yeah. Think about at the beginning where he was grumpy all the time. He still was a little sad, but he wasn't as bad as he was, right? He's changed a lot, thankfully. So, yeah, I think he changed. Maybe you don't think so. At the bottom it says, how did Toad change from the first chapter? So think about the chapter Spring, how he was lazy, he didn't want to get up, he didn't want to do anything. And then think at the end, how did he change? His attitude changed. He was more encouraging, right? He had a better attitude towards everything. He wanted to do things with his friend. So that's what you can write there. All right. And then the last page, what I want you to do, it says, the story of Frog and Toad showed a wonderful friendship between the two amphibians. What have you learned about friendship? What does it mean to be a good friend? So we talked about this a couple days ago about what it means to be a good friend. And so what I want you to tell me first is, what have you learned about friendship? So you might start off by saying friendship means, and then tell me what you think it means. And then you might continue your story by saying, to be a good friend, you should, and then list off things that you should do, right? You can even throw in there what not to do to not be a friend, right? But we all want to be good friends, so I want you to write and tell me what you've learned about friendship and what it means to be a good friend, all right? Take your time on this. Have fun with it. When you are done with the packet, we are done with the book, and then you can scan the entire packet over to me, or however you've been doing it. I hope you have some fun with this, and if you need anybody's address, I'm sure that to mail them a letter. If you reach out to that person's mom or dad and email them and ask if they can send you a letter, I'm sure they would not mind that at all. Just reach out and ask for their address, okay? I hope that you have a great time, and tomorrow Frog and Toad will be here to read our second book, all right? I'm glad that you're here, friends, and have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.